Hey guys, Timothy Roberts here. Today we are going to talk about a topic that I call the stick to wash ratio. To break it down simply, what I'm talking about is the interaction of the stick articulation on a cymbal and the wash or sustain that sits underneath that stick definition, and how do they interact. So in my earlier days as a cymbal modifier and a cymbal maker, I would just make the thinnest cymbals I could make. I was a jazz drummer by trade, and I was under the impression that thinner meant better. And over the course of hundreds of cymbals, I started to learn that there's more factors, and you've got to think ahead and think about how a cymbal is going to interact in the music, how it's going to translate out in front of the kit. And that's when I really started to develop this idea of the stick to wash ratio and where I want those two elements of a cymbal to sit in relationship with each other. The main factor I like to think about when we talk about stick and wash, more so than weight, is the shape of the cymbal, the shape of the curvature, the shape of the bell, and that includes taper, that includes a lot of different elements. But if we can boil it down simply, the shape of that bow from the base of the bell out to the edge of the cymbal is going to really determine to a large degree how the stick definition is going to sit on top of that wash. For instance, if you have a flatter shape or even a slight dip in the shape where you play your ride cymbal pattern, that cymbal is going to tend to be a little bit more mushy. It's going to tend to throw off more wash and more sustain, which will more easily overshadow your stick definition and kind of muddy the articulation that it has. I like to think about really giving a strong curvature to the actual playing surface. Even if I'm dealing with a low shape, I still want to maintain a strong section for that ride cymbal to play. And then what you start to realize once you have a curvature right where you play is that how that curvature arches up into the bell plays a huge factor in how the sustain is going to come off the cymbal and if you're going to have any weird hums or tones that pop through. So it has to be balanced. It's like if I get a real strong curvature on my playing surface, but then it flattens out up near my bell here, then that flat part is going to tend to want to dip and dive into the bell, and that's going to throw off hum. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I have a curvature that arches into the bell right here, and I want it to be kind of strong, and I want it to be an upwards trajectory. If it gets too flat or if it dips, then I know I'm going to have issues. But if I go too high up into my bell, I know that I'm going to be flattening out and maybe even dipping my playing surface. So it's a tightrope walk to shape a cymbal in a way that's going to have a nice strong stick definition and a nice bed of wash underneath. So the second big factor is the weight of the cymbal. So obviously if we have a heavier cymbal, it's going to tend to be more articulate on the stick. It's going to tend to have a less nuanced, warm crash sound. It's going to possibly be even a little bit clunky. So weight is a really amazing factor that we can play with. And these things also play and tie into tension and how stiff a cymbal is. Obviously, a stiffer cymbal is not going to move as much and therefore not throw out as much sound. So a stiffer cymbal is going to tend to be a little bit more controlled on the stick. And a looser cymbal is going to wobble more and throw off more wash and sustain, which will increase and add to how it interacts with your stick definition. So this is a broad overview of my concept on stick and wash ratio, but it all lives in a spectrum. So we we find, as cymbal makers, we try and find the outer border of the kind of cymbals we want to make. So for me, I tried to make the thinnest, wobbliest, funkiest sounding cymbals, and then I also tried to make the cleanest sounding cymbals that I could make. And then from there, I kind of had my outer edges, and then I could learn to make cymbals within that spectrum. So there is no one perfect cymbal. You have to factor in things like the room you're playing in, the style of music, the volume, the sticks, the playing technique. It's all so complex, and everything interacts with everything else. And so that, to me, is what makes all of this exciting. It can also be intensely frustrating while you're trying to learn this whole thing. But I think it's something to embrace. It's a complexity that you can embrace, and it can teach you a lot of stuff, and it can move you forward, whether you're a drummer or a cymbal maker or a musician. So let me know what you think. Do you think about cymbals this way? Do you like to think about the stick and the wash and how they interact, and how hard you play, and where do you want your cymbals to sit? What kind of music do you play? What kind of sticks do you use? Really, you can take this and run with it, and comment below, ask me questions, reach out to me directly if you want to ask a particular question about a particular cymbal, and I'll do my best to answer. Thanks for watching, guys.